All right, guys, today we have more PlayStation news and information to go over and talk about. But before we get into these topics, I do want to remind everybody that tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern, Press X Podcast will be going live here on the channel. We're going to have a lot of very interesting topics to go over and talk about in depth. So I hope to see you there. But we're starting here with an interesting piece of information that came out that wasn't supposed to come out when it comes to Epic Games and PlayStation. Apparently, Epic Games was offering Sony $200 million to bring their first-party games over to the Epic Games Store. So it says here the Epic Games versus Apple lawsuit continues to reveal interesting information that provides the general public rare insight into the inner workings of companies like Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo. We've seen how Microsoft reviewed Naughty Dog's Last of Us Part 2, for example, and how Epic tried to make Sony look like heroes in the Fortnite crossplay announcement. Now a presentation made public reveals that Epic offered Sony $200 million for a total of 4 to 6 first-party PlayStation games to appear on the Epic Games Store. At the time of the presentation, Epic was still awaiting feedback from Sony. The same slide reveals that Microsoft was less receptive to the idea, and Epic thought that approaching Nintendo was pointless because it's a, quote, moonshot unto itself, unquote. So it goes on to say here that other documents that were made public during the trial reveal that Sony made $4.1 billion in profit in 2019 from games and services. This does exclude hardware. Nintendo earned $2.3 billion, and Microsoft's profit was $1.6 billion. It's actually between $1.6 billion and $2.3 billion range. And so that last part is somewhat interesting because it reveals that Sony is making a ton of money on their games and services. Like, they're right behind Tencent and Apple. They're actually in third place. Tencent is at 6.3 billion and Apple's at 5.2 billion. And then Sony's right there at 4.1, ahead of Google, NetEase, Nintendo, Microsoft, Activision, EA, and Epic. So pretty interesting stuff here. You know, it is interesting to me that Epic is trying to make something like this happen. I mean, Sony has these games that, you know, other platform holders want them on their platform, and they're going to make, you know, insane offers like this. Frankly, I think 200 million is way too low. I mean, they're asking for 4 to 6 exclusives. Yeah, I think Sony's exclusives are worth more than that. You know, apparently they were asking for games like Spider-Man and God of War and whatnot. It's like, yeah, I think you're gonna have to offer Sony a little bit more money than that. But it is interesting, right? I do want to let everybody know, because some people were asking me, you know, am I going to talk about the whole PlayStation crossplay situation, you know, that we learned during this Epic Games versus Apple lawsuit trial, stuff like that. Yeah, I am going to talk about that. I was actually reserving that for the podcast tomorrow. So again, if you're interested in that, be sure to tune in. But we're going to move on from that and talk about Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, because it seems that Sony has extended the exclusivity period for Final Fantasy VII Remake. This was revealed during the latest trailer for the game that was released. At the end, it says Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, PlayStation 5 console exclusive, and then in small text at the bottom it says available on PS5 at least 6 months earlier than any other format. So at the very least, we know that Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade will be a PS5 console exclusive for at least 6 months. It's interesting because the fact that they're using this wording, saying at least 6 months, tells me that it could get extended even further, maybe to another year potentially. It's hard to say, but yeah, some people were not happy about this. To me, this should not come off as a surprise at all. It's very clear that Sony is doing everything they can to try to keep games like this exclusive to the platform as long as they can, to continue to encourage people to go out there and buy a PlayStation 5 console and invest in the PlayStation ecosystem. It has always worked for Sony. It continues to work for Sony, and they're going to continue to do it regardless of how much that may upset you. And so, you know, it's what I always tell people. If you really want to experience the game, it's probably worth just investing into a PlayStation 5 console, because they're going to have a lot of exclusives that you can enjoy. If not, you're just going to have to wait patiently. But we do have more information on Final Fantasy VII Remake, this time pertaining to Part 2. It says Square Enix's Tetsuya Nomura has provided a brief update on Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2, revealing development of the project is progressing smoothly, although there's still no word on a release date at this point. Nomura also revealed that Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 will feature a different atmosphere from the first chapter in the project, and mentioned that Cloud is running in the wilderness in the sequel, presumably referring to the fact that players will be out and about in the world beyond Midgar. That's all Nomura would divulge on Part 2, but at least we know that there's no problems on the development front, particularly in the wake of the impact caused by, CV and everything that's going on. So I just wanted to let you guys know that apparently development is proceeding smoothly for Part 2, and I think that that makes a lot of people happy, because I think people want them to obviously take their time, get it right, but, because we finished Part 1, everybody's eager to, figure out what happens next with Part 2, what other changes are they going to make. So there you go. Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade is a PlayStation 5 console exclusive for at least the first 6 months, and development on Part 2 is going smoothly. I would assume, just before, and I want to say this before we move on to the next topic, I would assume that Part 2 will also be a timed PlayStation exclusive, for anybody who's wondering. I'm not saying it will be for sure, but I would definitely anticipate it. But moving right along here, we're talking about Metro Exodus Complete Edition for PlayStation 5, which is set to release on June 18th. The first gameplay revealed was actually running at 4K 60 frames per second with full ray tracing enabled. So it says 4A Games has confirmed that Metro Exodus Complete Edition, the PS5 version of the game, is going to release on June 18th, and it will be a free upgrade to players who already own the game. The full experience has been ray traced with incredible illumination across the landscapes in the game, with enhanced shadows as well. The game will also run at a rock solid 4K 60 FPS. DualSense support and 3D audio will also be available. This version of the game will also come with both pieces of DLC. The first gameplay from this version has been revealed, and I'll probably have that playing in the background. And it looks really, really good. I gotta say, it's always exciting to get, upgrades for games, but in this case with Metro Exodus, I mean, the game was always a visual showcase, obviously, on consoles as well as PC, but to see how it's really just the whole package here on PlayStation 5, not only are you getting 4K 60 FPS, which we know the PS5 can easily do, it's also getting full ray tracing, which looks really good, like I said, and they're also going the extra mile here and adding in DualSense support as well as 3D audio. See, this is what I love. I love highlighting this because I've told you guys over and over again, these things that Sony added to the PlayStation 5, beyond just the visual enhancements, they make a difference, and I absolutely love when developers are supporting this stuff, especially the DualSense, man. So yeah, this is a game I might have to look out for. I might have to give it a shot, and I just wanted to let everybody know that, if you do have a PS5, or if you are hoping to get a PS5 soon, this is yet another game that's getting a big enhancement, and it is really nice to see that if you already own the game, you can get the upgrade for free on PS5. So we're going to close out this video with a somewhat bizarre story, but I think some people are going to want to pay attention to this. I don't know how much hype there is for this game, Sniper Ghost Warrior Contracts 2, but apparently the PS5 version specifically has been delayed. And so it says CI Games has announced that the PlayStation 5 version of Sniper Ghost Warrior Contracts 2 has been delayed from June to sometime, quote, later in 2021, unquote, because of, quote, unforeseen technical issues discovered in the weeks leading up to launch, unquote. The game will launch on June 4th for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. So pretty much every platform but PS5. It's even releasing on PS4, which is very strange to me. It goes on to say the apologetic developer said it will offer the first major downloadable content for free to players across all platforms. This DLC will include a new map and new contracts, details of which will be shared at a later time because it's still in development. Rest assured, the PS5 version will come as a free digital upgrade with all physical and digital PS4 purchases. And so this is exactly what they had to say. We couldn't have foreseen these difficulties. However, we want to assure our players that our experienced, professional, and dedicated team is working hard with the platform holder and engine provider to resolve the issues as quickly as possible and to ensure that we deliver the high-profile sniping experience to the PS5 community that you've been waiting for. We offer all buyers of the PS4 version a free digital upgrade to the PS5 version. So yeah, I saw this and I just thought it was kind of bizarre, right? Like, you don't really see this happen too often where a game is being delayed on one platform specifically, and they're being upfront about it. They're just saying, look, we've run into some unforeseen technical issues. I mean, it could be like maybe they just found like some severe game-breaking bugs in the final days of testing that they just didn't know were there, and they're just not gonna have enough time. I mean, that's what's weird to me. It sounds like it's pretty serious, whatever it is, because they're saying now it's going to be sometime in later in 2021. They're not saying it's going to be like a couple weeks. They're not saying it's going to be like a month. Could be a couple months. Might, not even come out this year. So really weird, right? Like, I don't know. Maybe the developers are just having trouble with the PS5 hardware. But, one thing I do want to say, because I've seen some people say that this is like a bad sign that devs are having issues with the PS5. I don't think that's what this is at all. I mean, it's coming out on the PS4. The PS4 and PS5 architecture are pretty much identical in a lot of ways, to the point where it's very easy for developers to port their games over. So I don't know what this could be. I just wanted to let anybody know who maybe was excited for this game that on PS5 specifically, it's getting delayed, and it's the only version that's getting delayed. So there you go. But that's going to do it for the video, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. I hope you did find it informative. Make sure you leave it a like. Leave your thoughts down below. Subscribe if you're new. Hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share the video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.